Okay, write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line. So we have this line that's made up of a bunch of x, y coordinates. Now what we need to do is write an equation for the line, okay? So the most efficient way to get the equation is to set up your y equals mx plus b, okay? You have to find your m, you have to find your b. Now remember what m and b stand for. M is the line's slope, and b is the line's y-intercept. So the y-intercept, I can see the line crossing the y-axis right there. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So 4 is your b value. Now, a slope is a ratio of rise over run. Okay. So you need to find another point on the line. Go forward to the right. Okay. You should be going this way on x. So right there. Okay. So the rise is the change in y, it's the vertical change. So the y is changing by -3, because you're going down 3 units, and you're going right 4 units. So -3/4. So y equals -3/4 x plus 4. Okay. And the reason why that works is because if I go -3 ABC 4 times, this point is at 4 on the x-axis, 4, and plus 4, I should be at 1 on the y, which I am. Okay. All right, number 2, same idea. Y equals blank x plus blank, so mb. So m is slope, and b is y-intercept. So on the y-axis, right there. So you're down -1, -2, -3, -4. That's your y-intercept. So right there. So rise over run. So it's a rise of 2 and a run of 3. Okay. So 2 over 3. Okay. Because you went up. So y equals 2/3 x plus -4. Or -4. Okay, now we have the equation. We need to graph the line that matches the equation. So we have y and x both in the equation. We're not missing either one. Okay, and the y is by itself, and then you have mx plus b. You know this makes a line. Okay, it's not a v. The v is with the absolute values. Okay, so you've got your slope and your y-intercept. So the slope is -2. You always want your slope to be a ratio, so put a 1 under it, and then +6 is your y-intercept. So on the y-axis, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Then from that point, I go down 2, right 1. Or you can go right 1, down 2, doesn't really matter. Okay. There's 3 points, but remember it has a continuous infinite amount of points. Okay, we just need to connect the 3 points with arrows on both sides. Okay, and there's your equation. Arrows on both ends because it does go on for infinite. Okay, I may have made a mistake on number 4. This is me making a mistake. I want that 24 to be negative. Okay. So now, -4x plus 3y equals -24. So we need to graph this. It's going to make a line. Okay, there's no absolute value. So what we need to do is get the y by itself. Okay, so the y is multiplied by +3. So you don't need to make everything opposite. Okay, the 24 is me changing the overall problem. Okay, so we need to get rid of our 4x by adding 4x, and we need to create an x term over here of 0x, and then add 4x to that. So you line up your equals, and you have 3 times y. Then on x, 0 plus 4 is 4, and then plus a -24. Now, we need to get rid of the times 3 by dividing by 3. Okay. And then y is by itself. I just got to figure out what these divided by 3 are. 4 divided by 3, I don't want decimals on slope. Hit second PRB. And I also do not want mixed numbers, 1 and 1/3. So you go second ABC, and that takes us to 4/3. So really it just remains the improper fraction 4/3. And there's your m, rise over run. -24 divided by 3 is -8, and that's your b. Okay. So we have a slope of 4/3 and a y-intercept of -8. Okay. So on the y-axis, I go to -8. So -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then from that y-intercept point, I know I go up, rise over run, up 3, up 4, right 3. Okay. I'm actually on the x-axis on the next point. And I take my ruler and I make my line. Okay, there you go. Arrows on both ends. Okay. Now this time we're not looking for M and B. It's a line, but we're missing the y variable. It's just the x variable we have, so that's a constant equation. So we make 3 coordinates. Okay. Okay, so the constant value is -4, and it's the x that we have that for. Okay, and then y can be whatever I want. So let's go 1, 2, 3. So let's go left 4, up 1 from the middle. So if x is -4, y would be 1. Okay. Also, if x is -4, y would be 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And then here, left 4, up 1. Up 3, I should say. Okay. And then you have a straight vertical line. It is continuous. Okay. So with arrows on both ends. Okay, next one, y equals -8. Okay, again, we're missing the x, so what we have is a constant equation. So there's a constant value of -8 throughout this line, but what letter is it for now? Now it's for the y. Okay, so we need to put -8 for all of the y's. Then x, 1, 2, 3. So you go right 1, down 8. All the way down there. Then you go right 2, down 8. Then you go right 3, down 8. Okay, and we have a straight horizontal line. Okay, because everywhere on that horizontal line, doesn't matter where x is at, we're at -8 on the y-axis. Okay, blank page. Okay, write an equation of the line with the following traits. So now we don't see the graph. We have to write our own equation, y equals mx plus b, without seeing the graph. It's like what we're doing on 1 and 2, the first 2 problems. I just don't have the benefit of looking at the graph. Now, the m, that's your slope, and the b is the y-intercept. Well, they tell me the slope here. They say that my slope is 1/3. Okay, so y equals 1/3 x. Now to find b, the y-intercept, we know that when x is 9 in this equation, y has to be -3. So we have to find the b that makes that happen. And that's always y equals m times x plus b. So my m value is 1/3, okay? And then I know that if y is going to be -3, x has to be 9. And then I can find the b that makes that true. So you got -3 and then b plus. Now you got to multiply 1/3 times 9. That's 3. Then you subtract 3 from each side, and then -6 equals b. Okay, you can always check these answers by taking that coordinate point, 1/3 times, we'll go with 9, and then add -6, and I should get an output of -3, which I do. So I know that one's correct. Okay, now it gives me 2 solution points. When x is 3, y is -2, and when x is 6, y is 1. So I still have to come up with the linear equation. Okay, y equals mx plus b. So m is slope, b is the y-intercept. Okay, now I don't know the slope. Remember, it's rise over run, but it's also rise is how the y changes, run is how the x changes. So then that's y minus y over x minus x. That'll give me the rise over the run without having to graph it. So, minus minus, okay. We'll start with the higher x. We'll put 1 over 6, and we'll put -2 over 3. Now think of a number line. You'd start at 1. Don't change the 1. When you minus -2, you're moving 2 to the right. So that's 3. And then 6 minus 3 is 3. And then 3 divided by 3 equals 1. Nice solid 1. Okay? So your slope is 1. Now we have to find the b that makes these coordinates work. So y equals m times x plus b. So my m value is 1. And then we can pick either of these because we know that when y is 1, x is 6, or when y is -2, x is 3. I'll use the second one. I'll put 1 for y and 6 for x. Then what that allows me to do is it finds the b that makes that happen. 1 times 6 is 6. Then I subtract 6 from both sides, and -5 is equal to b. Put that in there. Okay, now to check your answer, 1 times, let's go 3, and then add your -5. I better get -2 as my output. 1 times, let's go 6, plus -5. I need to get 1 as the output, which I did. Okay, we're still writing equations on the next page, 8 and 9. Parallel to the line y equals 5x minus 2 through, when x is 2, y has to be -1. Okay. Now we have to find the m and the b. Now, parallel lines, those are two lines that never cross, would have to have the same m. Okay. So in the equation that I'm given, I have mx and b. I don't care about the b, but I have to have 5 as my m. Okay. Then I know that in my equation, when x is 2, y has to be -1 times x plus b. So the m value is 5, -1 is y, and then 2 is x. b plus 5 times 2 is 10. Okay. So we minus 10 from each side. -1 minus 10 is -11. -11 is equal to b. Okay. Okay, perpendicular to the line y equals -3x plus 7 through, when x is 3, y is 5. Now if you want to visualize two perpendicular lines, they cross and they form a right angle, 90 degrees. Okay. So we have to write the equation of a line that's perpendicular to this line. Now, how do you do a perpendicular slope? Okay. Well, we need to flip the m upside down and make it opposite. It's like that you're finding the reciprocal of the m, flipping it, making it opposite. So y is by itself. I don't need the b. Now there's got to be a fraction there to flip, so 3 over 1 now flips to 1 over 3. And since we have a negative, we have to make ours the opposite, which is positive, so it'd be positive 1/3. Then for b, y equals m times x plus b. So my m is 1/3, okay. Then 5 is y, and 3 is x. So 5 and then b plus. Now you take 1/3 times 3, that's 1. Okay. Subtract 1 from both sides, and 4 is equal to b. Okay, now we have absolute values. We know that these form V graphs. Okay. Now this right here is where the graph changes direction. That's known as your vertex point. It also is where the absolute value would become 0. Okay, inside the absolute value. So I'm going to write vertex. That's what it's called, vertex, V-E-R-T-E-X. Now there's a little formula you need here. You're not using MB. Inside the absolute value, if x is all you have, you're going to want to put a plus 0, and that's called your h value. Now outside, that minus 2, that's your k value. Now the reason we need an h inside and a k outside is because a vertex can be found by taking the opposite of the h and then pairing it with the k value. Okay, so the opposite of 0 really is just 0. And then the k value is -2. Because you see, if you put 0 in for x, 0 plus 0 is 0. So the absolute value is 0 is 0. But 0 minus 2 would be -2. So that's your vertex. Now, we don't go right or left from the middle. We just go down 2. So 1, 2. K values move it up and down. Okay, then you construct your V from there. Okay, now that's your graph. Now there's something that V's have called the domain and range. Now don't overthink the domain. The domain is all. Now the range is your possible values for Y on this V. Okay, so you put Y, and then you find where that vertex is at on your Y line. Okay, it's right here. It'd be at -2. And then from there you go up. So it's Y and -2, and then greater than or equal to. Because you went up. If you were going down like this, it'd be less than or equal to. Okay, number 11, same thing. It's going to be a V. So we have the H. We already have the H. Now I need a K. Remember, H is inside, K is outside. And then to find that vertex point, you simply take the opposite of the H to find your X value. Then your K is the Y value. So the opposite of H should be -3, and the K value is 0. Now why that works is because if I put -3 in for X, -3 plus 3 would be 0. The absolute value is 0, 0, and then plus 0, 0. Okay. Now X is right to left, so you go left 3, and that's it. So now the K's move, the H's move it across. So -1, 2, 3. And then you construct your V from there. Okay. Now, domain and range is the same concept. The domain is all. That means X can be anything. Okay. Now, the range, we put Y, and this is my Y-axis. So where is that point lined up with on the Y-axis? Well, it's right here. So that's 0. And from there it goes up. Okay. So 0. And then from there you're greater than or equal because it's up. Okay, now we have story problems. The temperature at sunrise is 65 degrees. Each hour the temperature rises 5 degrees. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that models the temperature during the day. How many hours will it take the temperature to reach 90 degrees? Okay. So you have degrees and hours. So the time is the X. And the degrees is your Y, independent, dependent. Then per, degrees per hour. Now they fortunately told me the degrees per hour is 5, so 5 times X. Slope is 5. So when you're given your slope, you want to construct a table with X being hours and Y being degrees. So when I know my slope's 5, I go 0, 1, 2. Okay, so 65 degrees is your starting amount, and then you add your slope amount, because every time this goes by 1, this goes by 5. So 70, 75. Then we have to find when we're at 90 degrees, okay, which I don't know. So now I make my line, and I clearly don't have to use the M and the B, because I know my 65 is where the Y starts, and then plus 5 times X, okay. So your equation is 65 plus 5 times X equals Y. Okay. Then Y is equal to 90. So put 90 in for Y. 65 plus 5 times X equals 90. Now we have to get the X by itself. You got times right there, so you need to minus your 65 from 90. That's 25. Then you divide each side by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. Okay, so 5 hours is how long that's going to take. Okay, makes sense when I look at the table. Now the next problem. A hot air balloon descends in a linear path. That means it's going down. So you can expect to get a negative slope out of this. After 10 seconds, the balloon is 640 meters above the ground. After 30 seconds, it is 590 meters above the ground. How many seconds will it take the balloon to descend from its initial altitude to the ground? Okay, so you find how many seconds it takes to get from its high point to the ground. So you have seconds, and I screwed this up. Instead of 0 feet, that should say 0 meters. Okay, so seconds is X, meters is Y. Okay, so per, that should say 0 meters. So meters per second. We do not know the change of the meters every 1 second. So you put m times x. Okay, just put m. Okay, well, now when I make my table, I think of it a little differently. X is seconds, and y is meters. Okay, so 0, but I'm not going to go 1, 2, okay, because I don't have that. So I know 10 seconds goes with 640 meters. I know that 30 seconds goes with 590 meters. Then I have to get down to 0 meters, and I don't know how many seconds that's going to take. Okay. All right, so clearly this would start higher than 640, so I put a b value. So when I make my line, I look at my table, I see y starts at b, I don't know that. Then I wouldn't know what to add because it's m times x. So we need to find the m and the b, okay? So m is like finding the slope. It's a change in the meters divided by the changes per second. So y minus y, x minus x. Okay, okay, so we put 590 with 30, and then we put 640 with 10. So that's negative 50, and you need to remember it's negative, and then you get 20. So you divide those, you get negative 2.5. So now you know that your m is negative 2.5 times x. It goes down 2.5 meters every second. Okay, I'm fine with a decimal there. Okay, because we're not graphing it. Now b, y equals m times x plus b. You are finding the b where you started at. So negative 2.5 is my m, and then I need an xy point, which I have. I'll go 10 and 640. So y is 640, and then 10 is your x. So you got 640, b plus, negative 2.5 times 10 is negative 25. Okay. Then you add 25 to both sides, and you get 665 as your b point, okay? So at its highest, it would be 665. Okay, now write your equation, substitute 0 in for y. So you got 665 plus negative 2.5 times x equals y, okay? Y equals 0. So 665 plus negative 2.5 times x equals 0. Now we have to solve for x. So you need to minus your 665. Negative 2.5 times x equals negative 665. Then you divide each side of your equation by negative 2.5. You're going to get kind of a weird looking answer, but it's right. Negative 665 divided by negative 2.5 is 266. Okay, so it took 266 seconds before that got down to 0. Okay. The reason why that's so much long is because you got to remember, every second it's decreasing by 2.5. That's not very much. Okay. Okay, and then our last problem. The data below follow a linear model with a positive trend, as you can see. Make a scatter plot for the data, and then you need to draw a trend line. Okay. Okay, so this is x, this is y. X is years, and y is the money, like price. If you want to put price, that's fine. So the years go from 0 to 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Now the price, I put a 0, but I don't want to, I want to start somewhere that's lower than 530. Let's go 5.20 is what that says there. Start with a nice round number, and then go up by 10 cents. So this would be 5.30, 5.40, stop when you're above 605, 5.50, 5.60, 5.70, 5.80, 5.90, then I get 6 even, 6.00, and then you get 6.10, okay? So 0.530 right there. That's an important point. 1.557, okay? 2.582, and then 3.605. Okay, it lines up pretty good. They don't always line up perfect like that, but I want to position my ruler on the y-intercept, the first point, because that's where it crosses the y-axis. Then I make a line that just flows with the points. Okay. That one's pretty easy to do. I can hit most of them. That's it for the first part. Now you write an equation for your trend line. Mx plus b. Now you're going to want to make a little mini table to work with, so to simplify your data. X, Y, years, and price. Okay, everybody should be using the 05.30, okay? Because that's your B. You don't need to do any work to find the B, it's right there. Then I picked two more points that are kind of close to my trend line. I'll go above the 1 and the 3. So 1, 5.57, and then 3, 6.05. And then what I do from there is just find the change of the price divided by the change in the years, y minus y, x minus x. So 6.05 over 3, 5.57 over 1. So I know I got 2 on the bottom. 6.05 minus 5.57, I get 0.48. Now I can get a decimal here, okay? 0.48 divided by 2, 0.24. Your M can be a decimal with these trend lines, okay? Because that makes sense in the context. You start at $5.30 and you're going up by about 24 cents per year.